right, well, welcome to this version of Talk It Over. My name is Dave, and I'm glad that you're joining me. I'm sitting in today for Ian, who usually hosts this for us, but he's away this weekend, so I'm covering off on it. Be a little bit different until he gets back and gets out in the regular swing of things. And joining me today is my lovely wife, Carolyn.
Hey, good to be here with you today.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. Looking forward to discussion.
Yeah.
We are following up on the discussion and the Talk It Over for the message we just heard today about dealing with loneliness.
It was so good.
From Jennie Allen. She did a fantastic job. And if you haven't seen that yet, then please go and watch that. There's a link that's there. And you'll want to do that and get all the good benefit, the content from it, so that what we're talking about will make more sense to you as we move forward. Because we're not going to spend a lot of time kind of reviewing that. We're going to let you do that. And is there anything kind of big going on that we should catch people up on in terms of updates?
Well, this is Canada Day weekend, which in our house also means birthday weekend. So it's a happening weekend in our household, which I always love in the beginning of summer, and it's hot. So
Yes.
we've been able to enjoy, Dave and I both love hot weather, and it's been nice to get out and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's not always a guarantee where we live.
No.
So it's nice when you get it. And then birthdays now means at this stage of life, cheesecake, chocolate
Yes.
cheesecake.
Yes, my COVID gift that I developed during that time.
During the lockdowns. And so we get to enjoy that. One more to go tomorrow.
More.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Well, we want to take some time to dive into the message. So much good content there and really important content. And it starts with this first question, what she dug into, but we're going to start with, and we're going to talk about first. She said, if you could change one thing in the world to make it better, what would that be? What would you change?
I think for me, it's just people stopping and connecting with each other through hardship.
Okay.
And so for me, growing up, my family went through a really difficult time after I was born, and just seeing my grandma step in to the mess of our life and the blessing she was. And as I work with kids with disabilities, I just see how many families are having to go it alone and how it can be messy connecting with a family member who has a disability, and just the value we learn from connecting with that. And yeah, I just want a whole community group of people who will bring disabled people to Jesus and see the benefit that he can bring to their life, regardless if healing is completely solved, that it's so much better together. So
the value of stepping into someone else's hurt and mess,
yeah,
and what you can do to make a difference in that.
And how it not only blesses them, but it blesses you too.
Yeah, and I can see that, right? That's really a value for you that you live out in your work and in your relationships. That's what you want to bring, is I want to come alongside and help people in their hurts and in their problems. That's good. I think for me, it would be about the willingness to change, helping people to take steps to get better, to work things through, to improve. That would be the one for me, that if that one thing we could all get a handle on, that we could grow and get better, that would change our world in a significant way.
Yeah, and that's a real heart of yours too.
Mhm.
And the reminder that if you're not growing, you're fading. And you speak to that so often about that slow fade.
Yeah.
That this idea that you can just coast isn't
No,
true.
we can't coast. We're going one way or the other. So what would that be for you? I'd love to have you share in the comments. What's the one thing you would change in our world to make it better? And what I love about both of those and what Jennie talked about is they all lead to community. And that stepping into hurts with people is about community. And we don't grow without community. It's not, I can't do it sitting by myself somewhere. I need to be interacting with people in order to actually move forward. And so that was her whole thing, right? Community.
Yeah, and the power of that. And so often in our culture, people want to get healthier before they engage, but you can't get healthy unless you engage. And it's just this constant fight. It's really, really hard.
Yeah. So the very thing we want, we're actually working against. And I know for me as a pastor over the years, it's like when the people hit hard moments and they need to lean into God, that's often the time when they run away from God. So we often do the opposite of what would be helpful and healthy.
Yeah.
And so learning to do it a little bit differently. Well, which one part of the message was most impactful for you and why?
I think when she talked about her friend when she was at the university in Dallas, and how the whole annoying relationship, and how really I wanted to kill her sometimes. I just loved her authenticity with that, but I also loved the truth of that. So I have been blessed with having some amazing friends through my life. And oftentimes, as you get to know each other, like in a marriage, those things can be really challenging, but just that reminder that, yeah, good things come in a mess. And sometimes it's not this picture perfect relationship of everything always goes right. It's sometimes in those hard moments that goes well. And I think about our camp experience, right? Like some of those people at camp where you're living week after week after week with them. And some of those people are amazing friends. And it didn't mean that it all was smooth and easy. There was moments where it was really hard.
That's interesting because obviously then to step into someone's mess and help them, you have to be able to reveal the mess.
Yes.
And so if they don't reveal the mess, you can't help with the mess.
No.
Right? So that would shut down for you being able to step in and help out because no one wants to reveal the needs.
No, or you know me, I try to dig, I try to control it, which is not helpful either. So just praying more. I think that's what God's been reminding me of too.
But I think that whole thing about maybe we don't need to pry as much if we just show up. Because when you're around people at those moments and they're frustrated, they're going to blow up or they're going to cry, or you have to be around for them though, right? And so you can force the issue by digging until you finally get there, or you can just be present, maybe enough
Yeah.
that you're around when it happens, when it comes out.
Yeah, that's very true. The time you spend together, which is like at camp, like we are talking about, you couldn't hide there.
Yeah.
So you got to see people.
Yeah, which she talked about as a part of that, like spending time together. And the fact that that person would kind of push themselves into her life and how much she valued that later. And that was the part that I took away from it. You have to initiate. Like we wait for good moments or when it's convenient or for them or convenient for us. And for her, it was like, no, I'm going to push myself in there and make time because I want to make a connection. And she looks back on it now as it's a real gift. And I would say the same is true, right? You look back on those relationships now and you're like, I'm so thankful they made that effort.
Yeah. And the value of just doing life together, right? Which I sometimes go the opposite way and think, oh, I have to set time aside. It has to be different than doing life with people, but it could be going to our local store or doing
running errands.
Yeah.
Yeah, where we could bring people along and not viewing it as an inconvenience, but I want you here because then you're involved in my life and I can speak into your life.
Yeah, and you're building memories together too. I was thinking about all the projects we've had done around our house with lots of people helping.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Or even launching the business and having our life group show up and help us tear stuff down or build things up. And they're part of our business success because they helped us get it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of value in that. And being proactive about that really can make the big difference in kind of inviting people into your mess. And I wonder if in our Instagram world, where we culture and create an image. So this is a good moment. I want to share this moment with you. I'll take the picture. I'll put it up there. But the moments around it that are messy, I'm going to censor those out. I wonder if we're not expanding that in our lives to like, I don't want to even interact with people unless it's a controlled, good moment where I'm ready and my house is ready and everything's prepared and then it looks good. And when I'm frustrated or I'm lonely or I'm upset, I don't want you around because that's not a good moment.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Actually, one of the amazing reels that I was looking at had this woman, because you see all these wonderful, creative, organized women out there who are keeping their houses immaculate and everything is organized. And she came in and she said, welcome to my lovely home. You can see this collections of shoes. You can choose whatever kind you want. And it was just normal life.
Yeah.
Because the reality is we're not our best reel on those things.
Not the highlight reel.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's how do we invite people into that honesty of day-to-day reality?
Well, and she talked about we connect through need.
Yes.
And so you have to reveal the need for someone else to step into the need. But then isn't there a danger there that I always want to step into the need because then I'm at my best, they're not, as opposed to I'm willing to reveal my need and allow other people to step in?
I think that's very true for me. I think it's something that I have to be careful of. And in this season where losing dad was really hard.
Yeah.
COVID was hard with my whole job changing, having to leave a work and a group of people I really value to start the business and do something different. Yeah. It has just broke me of, no, you need people. You can't go through this life this way, and to be honest about what's really going on and to break down those walls. But my default is still isolation, which isn't good. And, image, I'm not the greatest housekeeper. I can let that stuff go. I've had to learn to have people in our home. I can't have the image of being a good housekeeper. I can't keep it up. Um, and that's been really helpful. But to also recognize that it's not just about the stuff around, but it's also the stuff I'm struggling with.
And when people are invited into that, the relationship can get so much deeper, so much more quickly. I think of a family in our church, the Mortons,
Yeah.
who went through all this hard stuff. And it was so hard that they felt like we have to invite people in or we're not going to survive. And through that, they came through much stronger on the other side. But relationally, right, there was this connecting that happened because of that was so powerful.
Yeah. And shared memories.
Yeah.
Right. And shared trauma. Like I can remember times walking with Leanne crying because I was so concerned about their son and what was going on. But you're in it together.
Yeah. So do you find for yourself, and I know this, but we'll talk about it. Make sure you share, by the way, what you
Yeah.
think was significant for you for the message. We'd love to hear that because I'm sure you have a different perspective and those are valuable. So we'd like to hear that too. But do you find it easy to connect with people deeply or do you find that to be a difficult thing?
No, I go deep.
Yeah.
I I think of that song as a child. I learned deep and wide. Deep and wide, there's a fountain flowing deep and wide. I love to go deep. And I think it's because I had the privilege of doing that with my grandmother. I had hours of conversations over a cup of tea at the table, talking about life, talking about struggles, and she made it so easy. I also was blessed with an amazing group of Sunday school teachers in the church I grew up in Toronto, and these women invested time and did special things with us, and just the impact of like not just your family caring about you, but other people caring about you was really, really valuable. And so I think I value going deep, and I need to recognize not everybody. I have to learn to be wide too.
Yeah.
It's not just I can scare some people off. I can be pretty intense.
Yeah, if you go too deep too soon,
Yeah.
it can be. But that's that whole intentionality that she was talking about in pursuing people. And some people might say no, and that's okay.
Yeah.
She probably had other people that she pursued that said, it's not really what I want to do. It's not what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And so being able to actually spread yourself a little bit wider to figure out who you're going to go deep with. I think I like to go deep with people too. I like to have relational time where you invest with people. But because we're different, you're more extrovert, I'm more of an introvert. You get re-energized by those moments and I get drained by those moments. Mm-hmm. And so I love them and I love to get together with people because I'm more the social person in terms of coordinating.
You are. I am not a big crowd person. And this was even at camp. I was thinking about that the other day, right? You were out there doing all the things and I was like in my small little groups and my little small group things, having intimate little conversations. And because big groups drain me.
Yeah.
And I think because I want to go deep with everybody. So it's like, I can't. It just overwhelms me.
Yeah. So socially, I like that. I like to get together with lots of people, but it can be exhausting, right, over a period of time. Well, we're working our way through the talk it over questions. We're going to go to the start sharing part. And the question here is, what does it mean to do life together? And how is your life group doing this well? And where could you get better at supporting and encouraging one another? So what does it mean to do life together? And then in our own life group, how's that going well? Or how could we do a better job?
Well, Dave and I spend lots of time talking about this. It's kind of been a lifelong journey for us, hasn't it? I think part of doing life together is being a part of each other's lives and day-to-day lives. Like I grew up in a church where we had to drive 20 minutes to get there, and I didn't live close to anybody who really went to my church. So it was really like a Sunday thing or a weekend thing, right? Or, you know, when I show up for church events, that was the community. And then I had this separate time I had with other people. So my experience was very different from just growing up in a larger city. And when I went to camp, I think that was the first time that I thought, this is community. Mm-hmm. This is community. This is working together, serving together, laughing together, doing bizarre things together. And then because of the group of people that God brought together when Dave and I met at camp, we were able to do it outside of that to the point where we still have some of those friendships today. Yeah. And they live all over the place. But I remember people who showed up for us when we've gone through really hard times. And it was just like, wow, that connection goes deep. Yeah. And I think it's about, at that moment, at that time, doing life together. And I'm privileged that, you know, we have weekly meals with people in our life group and we serve together in the church together and we show up for each other. And I love that. Yeah. It's been really powerful.
Yeah, I think it's not we could get into this way of thinking that church doing life together is about I show up for events and I talk to you, as opposed to you're a part of my meals and my home and my family life, like we interact, which is what we would do with family and would be okay with inviting them in. But for some reason, we want to hold that back with church family.
Which is interesting, right? Because I grew up in a church that was very family centered. And my cousins went to church with us. My grandma went to church with us. So when we got together after church, it was with our immediate family, right? We didn't do a lot of, the cottage was a place my dad entertained, and we'd have tons of people in and out of our cottage, from work to church to sometimes strangers. My dad really made that the place, but our home wasn't a place where we did that. So you've had to really work on me to kind of see our home that way.
Yeah, and there's a value to that, to being open in your life. And I think we still struggle with that.
I do.
We still struggle with that Instagram image of I'll let you into this part only, and that's curated. Only these moments I can let you see, but otherwise forget it. I need to keep that separate from the rest of what's going on. So yeah, doing life together is really about time. It's about hard moments and being vulnerable. It's about being revealing of what's really going on. Celebrating with each other and remembering to kind of hold on to the good things, the God things. So all those are involved in that. And I think for my life group, we do a great job at a ton of that already. And it's the three guys, and we have a great time together and have great discussions, but we're also doing things together. Where I think we could improve in that is more of the invite people into the regular stuff of life. Where if we're going to do an errand, if we're going to be involved in a task or whatever it would be, like doing it together.
Yeah.
As opposed to I'll do mine, you do yours, and then we'll just meet up at the planned times.
Yeah, I'd agree. That's a lot of like the ladies group that I'm in. That I even think just touching base with each other more on messaging and connecting even that way. It's kind of safe for official times, even still, opposed to having those conversations. But yeah, you gave a challenge a while ago about checking in with people and going for coffee or doing something like that. And I've since then have taken a couple people out. I have one more person I have to get to, and just thinking through how do I do that better?
What does that look like outside of planned times? Yeah. Because there's something really powerful about that. Yeah, I love that. All right. Well, this is kind of our unpacking of it. Is there anything else that kind of hit you from the message that we did to cover on?
Oh, the one another's always get me.
Yeah.
And I avoided this one, but you went there because I got really emotional, because I realized there's this tension of choosing life God's way. And I loved her honesty about, oh, here, let me read it from your perspective. I created this in her own words, and check it out. It was a great job that she did, kind of rewriting it from the reality of it. And just how it can be painful.
The verses, the one another verses.
Yeah, one another verses. They were amazing in how she presented it. But there was a couple there that really hit home, that God's really been working on. About forgiveness and hurt and boundaries, but forgiveness.
Because it's messy.
It's really messy. And I care deeply for people. And when you're hurt by people, and I don't mean being perfect, because I'm not perfect, but just the sense that it's left unresolved and there's nothing you can do about it, but God is at work and he's bigger than this. And this is only one moment in time. And I remember my grandma talking to me a lot about that. Like, just because you see it now doesn't mean it's over. Like, God is still working. And that reminder that the hope is God, not me or other people. It's him. And just keep living out the one another's. Like, I can get so caught up and it's so overwhelming. I don't know what to do. It seems, and we've talked about this yesterday, we're walking trust and obedience.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, and how we treat each other.
The challenge there, right? That God really wants us in community to live out those one another's. And in church family and in our biological family, that's where God says, this is the microcosm. Do it my way in those places. And then you become a light to the world, right? Then you become an example. It's not by shouting it out there. It's by inviting people into that community that you've built. And really, that's what we want to do as a church. We want to invite you in to be a part of the community that we've got, because it's rich and God is in that, and it's really, really good. And you need that in your life. And that's what she talked about that hit me, is that it's not like this is an add-on that would be beneficial. Like, this is what your life is supposed to be. This is how God set it up from the very beginning. We need to be in community. And so if you're missing out on that, make sure that you reach out to us, and you can send in an email at info@LifeNorth.Church. You can leave a comment underneath this, and we'll be sure to see that and get back to you. And we want to do what we can to invite you to come in. And it takes a little bit of time. You kind of got to get to know each other a little bit and begin that process, but it can be so good when you do. And if you wait until the hard moment to invite someone in, it's kind of too late because there's no relationship there. It's hard to get people to actually be a part of it. And so don't miss out on that. As we said, make sure you go and catch the message. It was excellent, and looking forward to At the Movies starting up next weekend and all the good stuff going on there. And we do all of this because we care about you, want the very best for you, but we also know that whoever finds God
Finds life.